In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the valve cover on your Hyundai Sonata. Let's get started. Remove the plastic engine cover, lift straight up. It'll pop off the grommets. We're going to use compressed air and spray away any of the loose dirt that's sitting around our valve cover. Remove the fuse box cover. There's 2 tabs. Push on these tabs, lift straight up. You'll find a diagram on here. Find the fuel pump. That's going to be this fuse right here. Remove the relay. Start the car. Let the car stall out. Using a 10mm wrench, remove the battery negative. Remove the connectors for the high pressure fuel pump. Push down on these connectors and pull them out. We're going to use a trim tool and pop that plastic stay out of the bracket. Remove the harness. I'm going to put a rag under this to catch any fuel if it falls when we open this up. Using a 19mm wrench, we're going to loosen the nut. I'm going to use a rag on top as well to make sure no gas comes up and hits anywhere. Thread the nut off. Push up on the clip, put it in the unlocked position, and then there's a tab on either side. Push down and pull back and remove the connector off the fuel pump. Remove the 10mm bolts a quarter turn for the high pressure fuel pump. Going back and forth, just a quarter turn each time. Once the bolts are totally loose, there's no pressure going up on them, go ahead and just remove them. Remove the fuel pump. Pull the locks up for the ignition coils. It's these plastic pieces. Pull it straight up. You may need to help them along with a small pick. Once you have them up, press on this top tab and remove the connector. If you're struggling to remove it, it helps to push the connector down onto the coil and then back up. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the ground strap on the wire harness. Remove the bolt, pull the ground strap up. Remove the 2 10mm bolts. Pull this harness out of the way. Pop the plastic clips out of the valve cover using a trim tool. Pull the harness to the side, pinch the clamp, pull it back, and remove the hose off of the valve cover. There's one more on the other side. Do the same thing, pinch the clamp. And pull the hose off. Remove the 10mm bolts for the ignition coils. Remove the ignition coils, pull straight up. Using a 12mm socket, remove the bolt for the bracket on the back of the engine. Remove the bolt and the bracket. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to remove the bolts for the valve cover. We're going to go around just loosening them first. Using a small pry bar, we're going to pry up on the valve cover, breaking the seal. Lift up on the valve cover and remove it. Remove the gasket from the valve cover. Clean the outside mating surface. I'm going to start with a rag, cleaning up any of the oil. Pulling the RTV off of the places where the case is split. When wiping around, make sure you're not wiping dirt into the motor. You want to wipe away. After we wipe it down, we'll go around with a straight razor blade and clean up any of the corrosion. Clean the outer mating surface. You'll also want to clean these inside parts. Install the new valve cover gasket. Install the gasket for the fuel pump. Using a clean rag and some parts cleaner, spray our rag, and we're going to go around our mating surface and just give it one last wipe. We'll wipe around this fuel pump housing as well. Be very careful around here. Don't knock anything into the motor. We're going to put a dab of RTV on these seams. Do it on both sides. Install the valve cover. Go around and get all of the valve cover bolts started. I'm going to use a 10mm socket on an extension, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to get all of these bolts to just touch the cover. Once I do that, then we'll go around and start our first tightening sequence. Because of how low the torque is for the first step, it's best to not use a ratchet to put these in. But if you get stuck on something and you just need a little extra, on this first pass, we're going to torque our bolts to 4.3 foot-pounds. These go in a certain order, so follow as I go. On our second pass, we're going to torque the bolts to 7.2 foot-pounds. Follow along as we go with the order. This is bolt number 1. Bolt number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. And these two are 19. Install the 12mm bolt for the bracket on the back of the motor. Snug the bolt down. Install the coils. Install the bolts for the coils. Snug the bolts down. Torque these bolts to 4.3 foot-pounds. Install the hose. Pinch the clamp. Return it to its original position. Do the same thing with the hose on the other side. Install it. Pinch the clamp. Put it back into position. Install the harness into the plastic stays. Pull the coil harness back over. Install all of the connectors for the coils. Clip them into place and push down the lock. Install the bolts for the coil harness. Snug the bolts down. Install the ground strap bolt through the bracket. Snug the bolt down. Snug the bolt down. Install the fuel pump. Get the bolts started by hand. Install these screws 1/4 turn at a time. If you just send one side home, you have a chance of the screw breaking because of the spring tension in the pump. Just continue going back and forth so you feel them fully seated. Torque the fuel pump bolts to 10.9 foot-pounds. Remove the cap on the fuel pump. Install the fuel line into the pump. Make sure everything's nice and square and get the nut started. Snug the nut down. Torque the fuel pump nut to 23 foot-pounds. If you can't get a torque wrench on it, do the best you can. Remove the cap from the fuel pump. Install the line. Make sure this is in the unlocked position. Once it's slipped over, put it in the locked position. Make sure it's locked in. Install the plastic stave for the harness. Install the connector on the coil side, and install the connector into the fuel pump. Make sure everything is locked in. Install the fuel pump relay. Reinstall the cover. Install the negative battery cable. Snug down the terminal. Install the engine cover. Push it down into place, make sure it's locked in, and you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.